Okay, we will get started. It seems it's slowed up on our attendees. I'm Wade Markle. I'm the Division Director for the American Heart Association, and I'd like to welcome you to our first presentation in the Wellness Through Seasons series. Thank you for taking the time to hear some of the helpful hints on how to be mindful in all areas of our lives. On behalf of the American Heart Association and the Luncheon Committee, we want to thank our sponsors. Thanks to Traditions Bank, UPMC South Region, Visiting Angels of York, and the Markets at Hanover. Your support is instrumental in helping to impact building mental well-being in our community. Healthy living and mental wellness being is an issue in the community and is a focus for the American Heart Association and our local board of directors. Thank you for stepping to help address these issues. Now I have the privilege to introduce our first speaker for today. Nicole Schaefer is the director of Her Traditions at Traditions Bank, where she utilizes over 20 years of experience in communications and community building. Nicole is responsible for developing and implementing the Her Traditions strategic plan, which is carried out through strategic partnerships, various communication platforms, and educational materials and events. An active community advocate, Nicole serves on numerous board of directors and also is a volunteer for Junior Achievement. I will say that I love the Junior Achievement Program, Nicole, so thank you for being a volunteer there. As a lifelong champion for women's issues, Nicole is passionate about connecting women to the opportunities to help them take charge of their financial future. At this time, join me in welcoming Nicole Schaefer.
Thank you, Wade. I am excited to be here today and to take some time to talk about financial health and incorporating mindfulness into that practice. I'm going to share my screen. So I guess most of you have either directly or indirectly probably experienced some stress around your financial health in your life. It's inevitable that we either find challenges in budgeting and planning for the future, or we experience those life situations that happen. You may have an unexpected bill that happens, a hole in the roof, or your heater goes out, whatever happens, and it's unexpected, and that big cost can cause additional stress, and that stress has an impact in your life. And when we talk about what kind of health impact it can have, it's both physical and behavioral health issues that can occur. Everything from anxiety and depression to people developing ulcers or other digestive tract problems. That kind of stress can increase your blood pressure. It can cause headaches, including the dreaded migraines. Chronic stress can cause a compromised immune system and insomnia, even heart arrhythmias. So I think even from this, initial list, and it could go on and on, you can see how intrinsically our financial health is tied to our behavioral and our physical health. So what can we do about it? Well, today I'm excited to talk to you about incorporating mindfulness. And the practice of mindfulness is being present in the moment and not overreacting to other things happening around you. When we talk about your financial health and mindfulness, one of the key things to keep in mind is being proactive. And what we mean by that is a lot of times we're reacting to everything, that unexpected bill, not knowing how to plan for the future. We're reacting as things get thrown at us. Whereas if we could be proactive and do a little amount of work every day, it lessens that workload. So taking the time to track what you're spending, and then sitting down at another time and looking at what you've tracked over the past few months. Taking the time to read an article or watch a blog or participate in a session like today. Those small things add up to increase your knowledge, increase your awareness and your preparedness, so that when you encounter those big financial moments, you're more readily prepared to address them. There's also some other basic principles of mindfulness that can be helpful, including awareness, trust, and patience. And we're going to talk a little bit about each of those and how they can help decrease your financial stress. So the first is awareness. And when we talk about awareness, I want you to think about what are your beliefs about money that guide your behavior? When I talk about your beliefs, go all the way back to your childhood and how you were raised. What were you taught? Were you taught how to save? Were you taught about budgeting and even talking about money? A lot of people were taught, do not talk about money. It's not something you discuss with others. It's something that's private. And think about how that impacts your behavior and your ability to learn and have open communications that can help you. So, what you experienced growing up has an impact on your behavior today, and it's good to take a look at that. And it's also good to think about what is authentically important to you. And what I mean by that is, what drives you in life? Is it your relationships with others? Is it giving back to the community, building a stronger community through your community work? Maybe you're a business owner and you have a great idea for a business and your dream is to build that and build a legacy and make that happen. Or maybe, what makes you happy is traveling. You like to travel the world, see new places, connect with people from all over the world and experience those new things. The bottom line is, whatever it is that makes you happy, it's important to recognize that and think about, how you're directing your financial health flow to those areas. Sometimes journaling can help with this. As I'm talking, you might be thinking, oh yeah, exactly, the answers to these things, but for some people they don't. So take the time and write it down. And as you write about what you've experienced and what you care about, you'll start to see some natural patterns arise. And then you can take a look at those patterns and see how they're impacting your life. The most important thing, though, that I'd say about awareness is remember to keep your thoughts judgment-free. So we're often taught to be kind when we talk to others and think about the impact of our words, but we are not always the best at doing that for ourselves. And I see this a lot with Her Traditions, where I talk to women every day about their financial health. And when they sit down to have a conversation with me, they're always so hesitant to even get started because they think they're going to be judged. We've all made past mistakes. If you are not making mistakes, I question whether you're really living. It's just a part of life, but we have to be kinder with ourselves and realize it's not about the mistake, it's about what you do next and moving forward. So in that awareness, be kind in your thoughts, and that will help keep your energy high as you push forward. The next principle of mindfulness is trust. So you do not need to be the expert on everything. This is another area where I see it holding people back from having conversations. They don't want to sit down until they feel like they can talk very knowledgeably about it. They want to, know all about investments, know all about the terminology. And the bottom line is, when you are looking for a trusted advisor, it isn't about what you can bring to the table. It's about what they can do for you. So you should be focusing on connecting with someone who is hearing you and what your needs are. You feel like you have a good, narrative with them, a good rapport, and you're able to really connect, and they explain things in terms that you understand, and they can help be a partner in your success. So a trusted advisor can do everything from budgeting, recommending, different apps and methods that you can use to manage your budget, and including debt management. Not all debt is bad debt. There are some very strategic practices that you can put into place to consolidate things, to pay things effectively, and an advisor will be able to help you with that, as well as savings. Taking a look at your account structure. A lot of people need to set up multiple savings accounts with automatic deposits. So it's out of sight, out of mind, and that money is there when they need it. It's not getting intermingled with their other funds. And all of these actions can add up to having strong plans for the future, whatever those future plans may be, whether it's buying a home or going on vacation or saving for college, whatever that big future plan is. In order to get there, you need help, and you need to talk and communicate about it. And that's where that trust factor comes into play. The last, and certainly not least, principle of mindfulness is patience, and having patience with yourself and the process. Your financial health journey is going to look different than any other person in your life. And it's important to recognize that and to know that whatever steps you've put in place are the ones that are the best for you. And the other important thing is once you've developed that plan, sticking to it. Consistency is key. We all like to have immediate results. We don't like to wait for things. But the part of mindfulness that comes into play here is focusing on what you did that day. So you have your long-term financial plan, but what did you do today that was right? And celebrating those successes, celebrating those wins, and keeping that big picture in mind so that when you get to the end of whatever that goal is, you can appreciate the full journey that you were on. Of course, I can't talk about financial health and mindfulness without also giving a shout out to the Her Traditions initiative. So if you are a woman or you have a woman in your life who would like to be more engaged in her financial health journey, I can't recommend Her Traditions enough. We truly embody the concept of mindfulness and financial health. And one of the ways that we do this is through our financial personality indicator. So we have a questionnaire, and you take a series of about 35 questions, and it helps to identify a financial personality. And it also gives you your financial preparedness score. So we have a very open conversation, completely judgment-free, where we focus on how do you identify with money? Because if you better understand your relationship with money, you're able to make more intentional next steps that will drive better results. So I can't encourage you enough to go to our website, which is hertraditions.com, click on the financial personality indicator, and encourage all the women in your life to get involved in their financial health journey. And that's all for my comments today, unless there are any questions or anything else that I could answer.
Are there any questions for Nicole at this time? Was there what was the most helpful tip that Nicole shared with us that you are going to take forward? Anybody want to share that? It's a very quiet group, and I know not everybody on here is that quiet.
Well, I do see something in the chat, and Gregory shared that making sure you trust your advisor consultant to do what's right for you. And yeah, I can't agree with that enough. The most important thing is finding someone who really truly hears you and connects with you. And I think in this crazy, year and a half we've all been through, it's actually easier to connect with your advisor because we can do things like this virtually, and we're all so busy, and that holds people back from taking the time to connect. And so now it's easier because you can do it from your phone, you can do it from your desktop, wherever you are, you can schedule that time and make it happen.
And yeah, I would agree, Gregory, that definitely is, as I'm ready to transition to the next phase of my life, having that trusted advisor, I definitely feel less stress about making that transition from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
And
just having, I was just going to agree, Wade, having that security of that plan in place is priceless.
Okay, well, Nicole, thank you. I loved all the information that you had shared. And I hope that those who have teenagers, that maybe they're sharing that with them at an early age so that they are more financially mindful, as they move forward. So thank you, Nicole, for presenting today. Now I have Now I have the honor to introduce our next speaker. Karen has been providing mental health services for 28 years to a variety of populations. She is a licensed professional counselor in Pennsylvania and became a certified mindfulness based stress reduction teacher. That is a mouthful, Karen. In 2019. She has been working at Cognitive Health Solutions for 6 years, offering counseling to individuals and families. She also holds workshops, does presentations on mindfulness and stress reduction, and facilitates an 8-week mindfulness based stress reduction program a few times throughout the year. Join me in welcoming Karen Jones.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really good to join you all today. I am guessing that everybody can hear me just fine. I am going to try to share my screen. And yeah, looks like that worked. All right, so my understanding is that I am going to be offering you some information about stress, how it affects us, and then talking a little bit about how mindfulness can help us reduce stress, or at least in the moment, bring about some self-regulation. And so hopefully we'll fit all that in, and I will give you a little practice at the end to join me in so that you can actually experiment with how we are able to, within our own selves, access some stress reduction. So we all have stress in our lives. If we don't manage that stress in ways that are effective and healthy for us, we can end up being overwhelmed. Trying to hold on. Got to get the clicker in the right place. There we go. We can be overwhelmed and have no energy when we have too much stress, or we can end up really heightened and have way too many thoughts and energy going on to actually be productive in our lives. So where does all this stress come from? What is stress? Is any physical, emotional, or mental tension that we feel that might come in the form of our thoughts or emotions, or it might be anything that we are doing where we're interacting with other people and we actually have a perceived threat or an actual real threat. So I hope what you're hearing from that is that stress doesn't just come from the outside, like the car running through the stop sign when we're trying to go through the stop sign, but it also comes from internal, how we're thinking, how we're perceiving what's going on in our lives. Our sources of stress can come from 4 main areas, and that would be environmental. Again, that's that outside, whether we're somebody who doesn't really enjoy the cold weather, to I live in Louisiana and another hurricane just came through. Environmental stress. Environmental stress could also be inadequate housing, insufficient food sources, that kind of stuff. Social stress is our more interpersonal. So when we are having difficulties with coworkers or family or friends, if we're not feeling like we have healthy and secure connections to others, that would be stress. Physiological stress, that area is our own physical body, our health and well-being. And when I came in today, I heard somebody say what we've all been through in the last year and a half. Lots of us have been experiencing physiological stress just because of all of the changes and information and impact of a pandemic that most of us have never lived through before. And then our thoughts and emotions, what I already referred to, that internal experience that we have can be a source of stress. I referred to, we have some internal resources to manage our stress, and that comes from this idea of the autonomic nervous system, which is something that we all have. And the autonomic nervous system comes with 2 parts, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system, the system is mostly an unconscious system in the older origins of our brain. And so it senses any kind of stress, which again might come from those 4 sources, real or perceived. And when it senses stress, it sends all of these physiological reactions out through the body. Our heart rate increases, our breathing might increase, our digestion slows significantly, and all of that is to pull energy in the right places to prepare us to protect ourselves. If there really isn't a car running through this four-way stop sign when we're coming through, maybe our body mind doesn't need to be going into that sympathetic nervous system reaction, but it does. The parasympathetic nervous system is our rest and regroup side of that autonomic nervous system. So again, I share this not for all of that science and neuroscience information, but to remind us all that we have within us this natural system that helps us get back to rest and digest and regrouping. We call it rest and digest because when the parasympathetic nervous system is counterbalancing our stress reactions, our digestion starts again. So if we are not balancing that stress, which again, throughout the typical experience, we have a stressor, the brain notices that the stressor is ending, the parasympathetic nervous system does its job, and we re-regulate. What happens in many of our instances and in our lives is we're so busy, we're always doing, and we don't have enough space in our lives where the parasympathetic nervous system really gets to come in and bring our body mind back to rest and regrouping. And so this slide just points out what happens when we aren't allowing that system to do its job, or for whatever reason, so many stressors are coming at us at such a rapid pace, or we're forgetting to slow down. This imbalance causes all kinds of health issues, or can cause all kinds of health issues. So the key is to find some ways, and it's going to be unique and different for everybody, and that's what I do in my professional life often, and that's what the mindfulness courses are about also, is trying to help folks identify for themselves what are ways that I can maintain some balance in my life. So the goal is never, let's eliminate all stressors. That is not a reality. We all live with stress in our lives. So the goal then becomes, how do I name the stressors? And then how do I find some different ways to create balance in my life through my actions and behaviors, through how I'm recognizing and managing my thoughts, and through how I'm recognizing and managing my emotions. Kind of like making sure that you put gas in the car. And I always tell people that about eating regularly, maintaining an even blood sugar. If we don't fuel our bodies, just like we put fuel in the car, then we get out of balance. So physical health is a great way to attend to creating some balance. Those are the basics, foundation of stress management, and actually physical and mental health is finding some way to regularly move your body, whether that's an actual scheduled exercise routine, or whether that's gardening or dancing or something fun that you just like to do and participate in. Regularly moving your body. Regularly attending to how you're eating, whether you're eating a variety of foods, whether you're present while you're eating so that you know when you're full and when you're hungry, and you're not just mindlessly taking in food, and eating in a place where you're able to do those things. Many of us, I'm sure, are guilty of eating at our desk. And when we're eating at our desk and doing 3 or 4 other things, then we're not really aware of how that fuel is impacting our body when we're full, when something doesn't agree with us. So attending to where and how we eat becomes important, not just the variety. And finally, attending to our sleep hygiene. So we all need regular sleep. I'm not going to go on about that. And then taking care of our own mental health, so taking care of our physical health and our mental health is important when we're talking about maintaining balance. When we're taking care of our mental health, that involves things like looking at resiliency. Are we seeing stress that comes up as a challenge and something that we can rise to the occasion of and figure out where we have control and where we don't have control? Or are we seeing problems that come up as just overwhelming and falling into the camp of I don't have control over anything? Resiliency is a skill that can be learned. And so if that's a new topic to you, I would encourage you to look it up. And maybe you'll see that you're already actually using some resiliency skills. Having personal and professional boundaries is very important when we're talking about taking care of our mental health. That again has come up in the last year and a half when many of us, for the first time ever, went home to work and work out of home. And then the lines get blurry around when do I stop working and when do I start working? And it becomes really important to have some time away from our workspace. Connection to others is incredibly important. How we do that has changed a little bit. Lots of people learned about Google Hangout and Zoom and all other different creative ways to connect with people virtually. And there have been some really great virtual communities created during this pandemic that, might still be going on for years to come. Face-to-face contact is also great. Leisure time is important. Finding some fun and putting humor into your life, all of those things are what's going to contribute to some kind of balance in our lives. And I'm pausing just now as I say all that and the litany and the list and want to just reflect, that doesn't mean that we need to make this great big to-do list for maintaining balance and positive mental and physical health. It just means to be aware of, these are all of the things that bring me back to homeostasis, that maintain some balance. So sometimes they're going to be out of balance. And when we notice that stress, then that's when we want to come back and look at our list or go through the mental checklist and say, wonder when's the last time I hung out with my girlfriends? Maybe I need some leisure time and some connection. That last one was mindfulness is a great tool for maintaining positive mental health, for maintaining some balance, because it's this practice of, I'm going to go forward a minute and then come back to. So mindfulness is a practice of paying attention on purpose, just arriving in the present moment to check in with yourself about what's going on with me physically. Am I clenching anywhere? Am I holding and tightening? Am I breathing in and out fully, or am I just chest breathing? It's a way to check in with yourself about what's my mental state? What am I thinking? Are there a bunch of thoughts going on in the back of my head while I'm trying to focus on this other thing? And is that driving stress up because there's so much dialogue going on in my mind at one time? So it's this awareness that arises when we pause and stop and focus on what's going on with us. That's what mindfulness is. That quote is from John Kabat-Zinn. He's actually the gentleman who first created what Wade said was a mouthful, the mindfulness-based stress reduction program. And it is just a program that's designed specifically to be offered in an 8-week process to help people really reflect on what it means to come to the present moment and develop that awareness and some stress reduction practices. So the benefits of, let's see if I can go back now, the benefits of finding some way to pause. So today, I just want to give you some examples of how we might pause throughout our day to allow, if our stress reactivity has heightened up, to allow it to come back down. If you think of stress reactivity as a scale, like a 0 to 10, then if we don't pause throughout our day, all of those stressors, environmental, social, interpersonal, physiological stresses will build up throughout the day, so that by the time we're going home, And then if we have a commute and we have to go home through heavy traffic, by the time we walk in the door, we might already be at an 8 or 9 or a 10. Not a great way to engage with whoever is in the household waiting for you, or to downregulate for the day. So my encouragement would be, if you can find different ways to pause throughout the day, then we're regulating that stress number. And then we have a lot more management over how we're engaging in what's right in front of us. So there are other stress reduction skills and techniques that will, like exercise, listening to music, gardening, that can be just as useful. This is just one tool I'm offering because that's my area of expertise. Some of the benefits, as you can see, is that we are interrupting or deliberately intervening with that cycle of stress reactivity that I talked about, the autonomic nervous system. It gives us ways to work with and reduce, and maybe come up with some other ways to engage with the stress that is more useful, productive, if we're able to create some pause. And just by down regulating, focusing on our breath for a few minutes, we can reduce some of the negative effects of stress reactivity, that slide I showed with the long-term health impact. If we're regularly regulating our reaction to stressors, then our body is getting more opportunity to be in the rest and homeostasis place than in the heightened fight or flight. So this is one simple practice that I want to offer to you. It's STOP. Literally, the acronym STOP would be stopping wherever you're at in your day, at your desk, in between whatever your tasks are, or if you're at home when you're transitioning from one activity to the next. Stop what you're doing. Just stand still, sit still. Literally take a very deep breath and just notice your breath, and see if you can experience your breath as it goes all the way into your body. And as you exhale, observe how you're feeling physically and thought-wise, what's going on, so that you can then make an intentional choice about how you want to proceed with what you're doing. So my best example at that, I guess, would be, I work a long day on Tuesdays. I work 8 to 8, seeing people back to back on purpose, because then I don't see clients on Friday morning. So it's a win-win for me. But on Tuesday evenings, I'm pretty tired. And then I drive home a half hour. So it's about 8:30 when I walk in the door, and I have not had dinner yet. So my physical body is needing fuel, and it needs rest, and my mental self is pretty overloaded. I have a partner who is thankfully pretty excited to see me every time I come home, and I'm grateful for that. But when he jumps up and he immediately starts telling me all about his day, I go into the overwhelmed state. But if I can stop and take a breath and then observe how I'm feeling, then I can skillfully ask him to give me a minute, or I can skillfully shift into letting the day go and just focusing on him and the time that we have together that evening, and maybe even get to a place of, I'm grateful that there's this person when I come home that is excited to see me. That's a good thing, right? All right, so I'm going to see if anybody has any questions, and then I'm going to lead you through this STOP practice through what I would call a 3-minute check-in, if that's all right. That was a lot of information. Okay.
Nope, I was just going to say, Karen, yes, it was a lot of information, a lot of great information. I know for me, it was kind of like reality check. So again, thank you. I don't know, so does anybody have any questions? Okay, it's back to you, Karen.
Okay, thanks, Wade. So I will just give us a couple minutes. I think I'll take about 3-4 minutes here, and then we will wrap up, I think. So I'm going to ask you if you are sitting in a chair. We're just going to do a mindfulness practice here, the pausing, stopping practice. So if you're sitting in a chair, sit upright in a way that would allow your spine to be upright but not overly rigid, and allow the air to flow in and out of your body unhindered. Both feet on the floor so that you're aware of the soles of your feet being supported by the ground. And then just noticing if your arms are hanging down by your sides, or if you can let your hands rest on your lap. And noticing your head, if you can center it between your shoulders and over your chest. And then whatever's comfortable, lowering your eyelids or closing your eyes, or just finding a focus point to reduce the visual stimuli. And as you settle in, just beginning to check in with the body first. So noticing those feet on the floor. And then bringing your attention through the legs, the bend of your legs, possibly your thighs, and up to your torso and your chest and shoulders, your neck and head. Just noting what your experience is of the body in this moment. Any tension or tightness, any holding or gripping. And if it feels right, perhaps frequently we notice that the forehead is crinkled, to just soften the forehead a bit. Or we might notice that the shoulders are up and just lowering the shoulders down, shoulder blades down the back. Anytime you notice that your mind has wandered off thinking about the last time that my shoulder hurt like this and a story goes on, just label that thinking and bring your attention right back here to this present moment and the state of your body right now. And now shift your attention to your breathing, breathing in through your nose, maybe the deepest breath you've taken all day, and just following the breath, whatever your experience of it is. No right or wrong here. If you're alive, you're breathing. So we don't need to make it be any certain way, and following the exhale out. Noticing how the inhale and the exhale impact the body. You might feel some rising and falling of the chest, some extending and contracting of the belly. Might experience your breath at your nostrils. Again, not right or wrong, just aware, attending to whatever you become aware of. And now bringing your attention a little deeper in to thoughts and emotions. How are you feeling right now? Happy, sad, content, relaxed, curious? Whatever emotion is present, just naming it without getting entangled in it. And then noting any thoughts that might be arising. When is she going to stop talking? When will this be over? This is interesting. I'm thinking of my grocery list today. That one, just note all of the thoughts without going into listing the grocery list. So now we're aware of our physical, our thoughts, our emotions. And now just narrow that attention to your breath. Maybe congratulate yourself for taking this pause, because we now know it contributes to your health and well-being in the long term. And then take a moment to just set any intention. Now that I'm aware of my state in this present moment, how do I want to proceed? Once you've set that intention, if you have closed your eyes, go ahead and open your eyes or bring your attention back to the screen. And I will turn it back over to Wade or whoever's closing us out.
Again, thanks, Karen. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that exercise that we just did, that Karen walked us through? I will say, Karen, as we were going through that, I have found that my breathing got more shallow with every so often then a deeper breath. So again, for me, it was a very relaxing exercise.
Great. And when we're practicing, Wade, that's a great observation. We're just observing the breath. So maybe sometimes it's shallow, maybe sometimes it's deeper. And then when you get to the P, the proceed part, that's when we might set an intention for, when I breathe, fully oxygenating my body, I am in a more alert state. So maybe I will be a little bit more intentional to take some deep breaths just as I stand up out of my chair. I'll make sure I do the deep breath so that my body gets used to that.
Well, thank you. I want to thank Karen and Nicole both for great presentations today. You know, I think there are things that we can use absolutely every day in our lives, you know, and give ourselves permission to address that financial mindfulness, to take that time to show ourselves how to relax, how to kind of refocus, as you were saying, Karen. So lots of great information. This is being recorded, so we will send that out as well. So if you have missed something or you want to hear something again, you can definitely listen to that. So as we wrap up our first luncheon, we hope you enjoyed our speakers. You've learned a few things to help make your life a little healthier. Our next luncheon in this series is on November 18th. We will hear from Denise Stam and a special guest speaker from UPMC's Medical Fitness Center on nutrition and physical activity for the ultimate heart health and diabetes prevention. We know that diabetes and heart disease, they affect each other. If you haven't registered for the luncheon, you can do so by contacting Deb Landis or Jenya Savage. If you don't have their contact information, we will send out the flyer with their information on it so you can connect with them. We also ask that you would please share the flyer with your coworkers, with your network, so that we can actually reach more people to have healthier lives. Thank you for your participation and have a great and mindful weekend.